There we go. 3, 2, 1. Namo
Minabutsu.
Mirabutsu. Good afternoon,
Hello.
friend, and welcome,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you for inviting me again. I take it the first episode didn't do too badly then.
Oh no, definitely. It was people seem to responded to it. On the new manifestation my channel, it has the most views ever. Actually, I think possibly of any channel I've ever had views on one video. So, anyways, so welcome back, and thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
We just have a small topic for today.
Just a tiny, nothing too major,
You know, yeah, I mean, we're only going to be covering a very small part of what Shinjin is about. It's so expansive.
Yes.
It's so expansive. I mean, when I tried to start to, I mean, I knew that going into this, that when we were talking about doing this as a topic, I knew it'd be big. But like when I started to try to research different quotes and different things, and it's just so massive. It's just so we're to use an analogy, an often used Buddhist analogy, we're only going to be using a small portion of a grain of sand on the Ganges.
Yeah. And it seemed like a natural progression from the last episode when we started talking about Shinjin.
Oh, sorry. I think I was talking over you there. You were saying it kind of flows from our previous.
Yeah, from our previous one, because we started getting into this anyway. So
yeah, kind of, bamboo, what is kind of, you look at bamboo as the problem. Existence in samsaric existence, Saha world, suffering of bamboo, mind passions, all that stuff, what the problem is of being a bamboo. It kind of if that's the case, and if it's if there's nothing we can do and it's hopeless of our own power for us to take any step toward enlightenment, then we need Amida. We kind of started, we were kind of pointing toward that in the, we did bring that up in the discussion. And so what's the solution? It's kind of, so this, suffering, there's suffering, which is, being a bamboo, is all kinds of suffering and samsaric existence. And the end of suffering is through Shinjin, is being born in the Pure Land. So it does kind of flow from the previous discussion. So yeah, so great. Well, so like I said, we're only going to be covering a small inkling of what the whole topic of Shinjin is about. I think to do otherwise would be to quote Admiral Clancy in season 1 of Picard, sheer bleeping hubris. Only she didn't say bleeping. But so we'll just stick with a very small bit of any kind of discussion of the topic of Shinjin.
Yeah. Okay.
And I thought what we'd start with, there's a good definition at the at Shinran Works, in the glossary of Shinran Works, and apparently that's in volume 2. The glossary is in the book version is in volume 2 of the collected works of Shinran.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna read from that first as a starting point, and then we'll go from there. So Shinjin, one's entrusting to Amida's primal vow, which is at the same time negation of one's calculative thinking brought about by Amida's working. It denotes the central religious experience of Shinjin. It denotes the central religious experience of Shin Buddhism, and literally means man's, quote, true, real, and sincere heart and mind, unquote. That's in the Japanese is Makoto no Kokoro, in my terrible Japanese, which is given by Amida Buddha. So I want to read that again without my little notations there. It denotes the central religious experience of Shin Buddhism and literally means man's true, real, and sincere heart and mind, which is given by Amida Buddha. This heart-mind has basically two aspects. A non-dichotomous identity wherein the heart and mind of Amida and the heart and mind of the practitioner are one, and a dichotomous relationship wherein the two are mutually exclusive and in dynamic interaction. Used as an adjective, Shin, which is different from the term Shin Buddhism, has the meaning of true, real, and sincere. As a verb, it means to entrust oneself to the Buddha, an act which is made possible by the working of the true, real, and sincere heart and mind of Amida Buddha. These two meanings are always inseparable. Thus, while Shinjin is experienced by human beings, its source, contents, and consummation are not to be found in one. Now, let me read that again, sorry. Thus, while Shinjin is experienced by human beings, its source, contents, and consummation are to be found not in one, but in Buddha. There are, I think, does that mean oneself?
Yes, oneself.
Found oneself,
Yeah.
but in Buddha. There are 2 points. There are 2 points to be noted concerning the oneness that Shinjin signifies. First, it is not a simple identity. According to Shinran, the mind of Amida Buddha is true, real, and sincere, while the minds of foolish beings are empty and transitory. Since empty means not real and not sincere, transitory means not true. That's from Notes on Essentials of Faith Alone. Shinjin is a oneness of that which is true and real, which is its exact opposite. They are one and yet two. They are two and yet one. To express the structure of this oneness philosophically, the mind of the foolish being and the mind of Amida are identical at the same time. They stand at the same time, they stand in opposition of mutual exclusion and negation, of truth and reality versus emptiness and transience. In religious terms, the oneness of Shinjin expresses the working of great compassion, Buddha's wisdom, taking persons of evil, foolish being possessed of blind passions, into itself, never to abandon them. Let me just read that again. In religious terms, the oneness of Shinjin expresses the working of great compassion, Buddha's wisdom, taking the persons of evil, foolish beings possessed of blind passions, into itself, never to be abandoned. The second point concerning the oneness of Shinjin is that it lies at the heart of Shinran's Buddhism, for it signifies the attainment of Buddhahood. Shinran's teaching, then, is not one of salvation through faith, for Shinjin is not a means to salvation, but salvation itself. Its centrality can be seen in Shinran's emphasis on other power, which means to be free from any form of calculation, Lamp of the Latter Ages. That's from. Yeah. When one is free of self-power, the self-centered working of one's intellect and will to achieve enlightenment, this freedom of one's own heart and mind from self-power is itself other power. In other words, other power is the Buddha's power that has become one's own as Shinjin. It is the power of the heart and mind of the person in whom self-power falls away and disappears as oneness with the Buddha's mind, is realized. Okay, I got to read that again. It is the power of the heart and mind of the person in whom self-power falls away and disappears as oneness with the Buddha's mind is realized. In the realization of Shinjin, one becomes a foolish being, Bambu, for the first time, in that one awakens to one's own true nature. But simultaneously, one attains Buddhahood that will be fully realized through the working of Jinin Honi. This complex structure of Shinjin is expressed in a number of important concepts. For example, since the oneness in Shinjin means that persons of Shinjin have attained the Buddha's mind, which is itself Buddhahood, that is to be fully realized at the moment karmic bonds are severed at the end of this life, Shinran states that they are equal Tathagatas. Equal does not mean identical, but points also to remaining differences. The Tathagata is completely free of blind passions, but persons of Shinjin are not. Nevertheless, the structure of Shinjin is such that while they are human beings, they are also Tathagata, Buddha, for they live by the Buddha's mind of their power. Yeah.
That's just a basic definition.
It's just a basic definition of Shinjin.
But it goes to show that, I mean, the reason why I thought that would be pretty good to read out was because it goes to show that actually there's so many layers to this.
Yeah, and aspects.
Far more going on than perhaps a cursory glance. You know, it's just so many different layers to this, and it's
it's just, you know, I mean, that's just a, you know, a base, that's like the most basic definition that the collective scholarship of Jodo Shinshu, Hongwanji, I think, Hongwanji, you know, scholarship, came up with, you know.
It makes you wonder. I mean, did they just go to this guy and say, "I want you to define Shinjin for me"? What?
I'm assuming it's the collective, like not one person, you know, did that. But I could be wrong. I don't really know.
Well, yeah. I'm just, you know,
yeah. But yeah. Like, so
this is why it was a good choice by the translators of the collected works to not translate Shinjin into specific words. You know, they wanted to keep it as Shinjin for a good reason. I think we just read why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, because there's so many nuances and so many different aspects to the teaching about it. And Shinran brings them all out, you know. At some point, and you know, he does that way of flipping the interpretation, you know, of all these Buddhist terms. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, anything in there you want to unpack, or that
where could I start? Fortunately, having read all of that, there are some very basic terms of reference which Shinran, or explanations which Shinran does throw in with all of this. Like he defines what the how do I put this? He basically gets to the point of it, which is the way I like to think of it, as a complete 100% reliance on Amida and the primal vow, which is what it basically comes down to when you have absolutely no doubt. If I just read the it's like, for example, in notes notes on the essentials of faith alone. He says, this is just one example: hearing the inconceivable selected primal vow and the holy name of supreme wisdom without a single doubt is called true and real Shinjin. It is also called the diamond light minds. And there's one earlier, if I just zip to the top of my page, one earlier, I mean, they're all over notes from essential faith alone and other places as well. But it defines Shinjin in terms of faith is the heart and mind without doubt. So you've got all those types of quote is very, very clear that because we're not capable of that level of being, Shinjin is given to us or risen within us by a Amida, simply because we're not capable of that kind of level of of being completely without doubt. We don't have the sincere mind, we don't have the entrusting mind, and all that type of stuff. So fortunately, there are things in there which sort of like define, sort of like get to the point that really, at the end of it all, what we're talking about is a total reliance, a 100% reliance on the primal vow.
Completely, complete, total. And it does seem to, in this definition and other things that I've read of Shinran's writings, it does seem like the realization that you're a bamboo, the full that you, and having like the full realization of being a bamboo and the implications of that, and full acceptance of that kind of goes with it. It's just automatic almost. That it just kind of one leads into the other. One leads from I'm an absolute total bamboo spiritual idiot.
Right.
I am hopeless beyond hopeless.
Yeah.
For me to attain enlightenment, and all I have to look forward to of my own power is continuous samsaric existence in the cycle of death and rebirth, and the sheer agony of that, and probably the lower realms, the very lowest realms, mostly of animals, ghosts, and hell beings is most of the time probably where I'll be. Do you know what I mean? Like, and just absolute, like, no doubt whatsoever that you have any merit or any possibility of enlightenment on your own self-power. And so that it's just almost automatic from that to the two kind of go together to their utter reliance on Amida.
Right.
Once you hear the name, once you hear the teaching, do you see what I mean?
Yes.
It seems like the two are connected. That acceptance of total, you're complete and utter bamboo with utter reliance on Amida.
Yes.
That somehow is part of Shinjin. That's, Shinjin comes from Amida, but that is part of the experience of Shinjin. I'm not even sure how to express that. Is that right? So I say all that to ask, is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Yeah. I think that's that other idea. I mean, one of the ways you could look at it, I suppose, is sort of like, you're drowning in an ocean, but perhaps you haven't quite figured out that you're drowning in an ocean for whatever reason. And so, oh no, I'm drowning in an ocean, and then the rescue service comes along, and that's so the part where you're realizing you're in difficulties is that part where you suddenly realize you're drowning, and then the rescue service is immediately sort of like picking up on that.
You kind of automatically,
oh,
there's a lifeline. I grab on. Whereas before we get to that point of seeing, just before we see the true nature of our situation, it'd be like that person that's in the ocean, but and I think I can swim for it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There is. I know there's an island over here somewhere. I'm pretty sure there's an island over here somewhere. I think I can make it. But and all the while, there's this. There's the. I'm trying to use what's the UK rescue? What's the UK volunteer rescue service?
Rescue service. Sea rescue. Probably
no. It's sort of the equivalent of the Coast Guard.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what it's called. It's all volunteer. It's all.
I know what you mean, but mine's
anyway. Well, anyway, never mind. Sorry. So basically, all the while there's this rescue boat there, and you're just trying to swim. But the whole time that this is all going on, there's this rescue boat there.
Yeah.
For some reason, you're in denial that you're drowning, that it's hopeless, that you're in the middle of this vast ocean, and you have this notion that you think there's an island, but you think there's an island over this way, but you think you can reach it. Do you know what I mean? You're in this complete, and all the while you just don't. There's this rescue boat there, and you don't see it, or you don't even know it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very much like that, really. Yeah,
is the existence of being a bamboo before you know you're a bamboo.
Yes.
And then when you realize it, when you fully realize it, then it seemed, I mean, in my case, it was a process of getting to that point, which I think I might still be going through actually, but the okay, I got a problem here. I need to rest here for a minute. Let me just rest. Let me just, but you're still thinking, I might be able to, let me just think my way out. All right, okay, just let me float on my back here for a minute. Let me just see if I can just catch my breath, relax. Let me think about this a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you start swimming again, and then at some point you realize, okay, I'm out of. You start to feel the fact that you're out of food. You're not having any food. You can't actually drink the water because it's salt water. So you're out of, having to drink. You're running out of energy. So eventually, but it takes a while, for you to come out of that, and realize your situation, and you eventually get to that point where, okay, I am actually going to die. I'm actually drowning. I'm actually in the middle of an ocean. It's hopeless for me. And then suddenly you realize, oh, there's a raft here. There's a rescue. There's one of those rings. The rescue ring is sitting here. A rescue line is right here, and you grab it.
Yeah.
You don't rely on anything else. But at that point, you are utterly in the hands of the rescuers.
Yes.
You aren't thinking about anything. You're not thinking about how should I grab onto the line? So getting rid of the calculating mind is
that's what I was gonna.
Calculating mind is, at this point you might start, calculating mind might start going. You realize your situation, but you're like, oh, how should I grab onto that line? What's the best way to grab onto to climb into that life raft, or to get into that ring, the rescue ring, or how do I, which of those should I grab onto? The raft, the ring, or the rescue line? And you're trying to figure out, so for a while you do that. Your calculating mind is still, even with the rescue stuff, you're still trying to figure out what's the best way to climb up the rope, or what's the, or are they going to be able to hoist me? Is it going to be too heavy? Do they really have the right equipment up there? Is the thing going to break? The rope going to break? Do you know what I mean? You're still calculating and worry about all these things. And then eventually you don't go. And you just grab on. You're like, okay, I'm dead if I don't do this. I'm it's hopeless. I'm dead if I don't do this. I'm doomed. I'm doomed if I don't do this. There's no, there's not even if I don't do this. It's just I just grab on. It's not even, you're not even saying I'm doomed if I don't do this. You just know you're doomed, and you grab on.
Yeah.
That kind of that whole.
Well, yes, definitely. I mean, you could definitely identify with the whole calculating side, because the calculating side, like you were saying, is all about the things you're trying to do before you just find it. Okay, I'll just grab onto this. I think it'd be a lot, you just don't really think. You stop trying to calculate. You stop thinking about it. Just grab for dear life, and
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that analogy, if you like, for want of a better word, is that the rescue service has come to you. You've not swam to it, it's come to you. And that's Jodo Shinjin all over, because it's all about Amida. He's the one,
He comes to us.
It's the Dharmakaya of compassionate means. Buddha sort of like, He's come
Yes.
to meet you right there in the middle of your mess without judging you at all. He just wants to save you out of that mess.
Yes. Yes.
See,
Yes. Yes.
and
Exactly. Yeah. We haven't summoned, nothing I did even summoned the rescue
no,
boat.
no.
The rescue boat was always there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, what you just said, can you just say that again? It just made me think of something. I printed off some things from recently. I've watched Reverend Professor Dr. Matsumoto's, is it Introduction to Shinjin is the name of the presentation? It's on
It's
YouTube.
a two-part presentation on it is called Shinjin. It's part
Just
one,
called
two.
presentation of Shinjin. And it's like 4 hours total of like 4 hours long or something.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And but he has a great, well, at one point when he's discussing what Shinran's thought is and teachings and things, he talks about, and he's talking about the when it's the Kyoga Shinju right off the bat. He's talking about the teaching, practice, realization. What is it? Where is it? One sec. Reverently entrusting myself to the teaching, practice, and realization that are the true essence of the Pure Land Way. I am especially aware of the profundity of the Tathagata's benevolence. Here I rejoice in what I have heard and extol what I have obtained. And that's from the general preface of a collection of passages revealing the true teaching, practice, and realization of Pure Land Way. But when he's discussing that, he talks about how sort of self-power Buddhism,
Yes,
the provisional teachings Buddhism, of all the schools of sort of self-power Buddhism, the way it flows. So he has this chart. I'm using his chart here, and this he's using the Zen circle, but that is supposed to, I think it's supposed to represent the enlightenment, the Buddha mind, the sunyata, dharmakaya, the ultimate
suchness,
And so anyway, it goes from the practitioner, it goes from teaching. The practitioner goes into teaching, learns the teaching, and then does the practice, and then has realization, and then attains enlightenment. That's the flow of.
Normally that would be the flow. Yes.
Yeah, that would be the flow in sort of pure, in sort, not pure line, sorry, in self-power.
Yeah.
Provisional
sages.
Buddhism. Yeah, path of sages. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas in Jodo Shinshu, just look at the bottom, another quote here, or another reference to his. It's another one of it. This is from Dr. Matsumoto's slides, by the way, but from that presentation. But it goes the other way.
Yes.
So the Buddha mind, the Buddha, Amida Buddha, gives realization, gives the practice, gives the teaching, and it flows to us.
Exactly, like the rescue service, it comes to us.
Exactly the opposite way. Yeah, and that's what you made me think of.
Yeah.
Is the rescue service comes to us. Whereas in other forms of Buddhism, I guess you'd be seeking out the rescues. You'd be trying to. You wouldn't even use the rescue system. You'd be
trying to swim to the shore.
The shore. You'd be getting the teaching from an instructor for swimming. Get all kinds of scuba, snorkeling, deep diving. You get all those trainings. You'd get probably navigational training. You'd learn for various kinds of boats and water conveyances. You'd learn all about safety, both of swimming and scuba and nautical travel. And
By which time you drowned already. So
all this training and teaching and training, and then you put it, you practice it, and then you try to get, to where you were going, but yeah, for us, and then I guess it'd be, you try to get to the other shore then, you're trying to get to the other shore that way. Whereas with us, we're not anywhere near the shore, with a bamboo, with ordinary beings. We're not anywhere near the shore. We don't have a notion of the shore. And then when we do, like I said, I gave that example of what we think we can, maybe we can swim there. But anyway, but the rescue ship comes to us.
Yes, definitely. Interestingly enough, Amida statues lean forward slightly. Apparently, from what I've been told, they actually lean to show that, to symbolize the fact that it's
movement toward us.
Yeah.
Isn't he sort of taking a step toward us? Isn't it?
I think it's just a slight lean. Well, the
leaning.
statue I've got,
and the hands are kind of like this. They're more of an action kind of. Do you have it behind you?
That's a picture of. I'll go that way. That's a picture of the statue I've got, but it actually leans slightly forward.
It's leaning forward. Yeah, I thought there was an image of him where the hands are.
Yeah, you can see the
aren't in the usual Buddha pose. They're in a.
Yeah, they're a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one over there is raised slightly, and that one at the bottom is, I think, like this. I'm not.
Yeah, they're kind of like like this. Yeah. Yeah.
It's something weird just with the things with one that's all pale. I can't quite do it. But but that's apparently why they all sort of lean forward these statues, because it shows the initiative has actually come from Buddha, not from Amida, not from us. He's already out there sorting the whole thing out. It's
yeah.
You see what I'm getting in terms of the rescue idea. He's already got that well in hand.
Yeah. No, exactly, and it's so different than what people normally understand of Buddhism.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's different from what self-power provisional teachings teach. The way of the stages, it's literally the opposite. The whole thing flows from the Buddha, and that's related to the Shinjin. That's related to how the salvation works, and this equates. It says that Shinjin isn't a means to salvation. It is
salvation. Yes,
it is the salvation.
Yeah.
The Shinjin mind, the Shinjin.
Yeah.
The Shinjin experience, the Shinjin, having Shinjin, receiving Shinjin, all the different ways you can say it, is itself salvation. It's not the means. It's not.
Because once Shinjin has arisen or you've received it, whatever which way you want to, and you're fully reliant on that primal vow, essentially speaking, the only thing that's left to happen is you to finally die and be born in the Pure Land, because everything else has been sorted out. You've already got non-retrogression, the point that you're embraced by you're grasped by Amida, never to be abandoned. So you've got all these things that have already taken place the moment you entrust to the vow, and the only thing left to happen is when you pass on finally to the Pure Land at the end of your life. In traditional, traditional Pure Land, that whole thing wasn't expected to happen until the end of life. You didn't have the stage of non-retrogression until you actually were born in the Pure Land. But with Shinran's teaching, it happens the moment you entrust. You don't have to wait to that point when you're about to.
It's salvation in this life. That's where that.
Yeah,
which is probably a really bad translation, but it's you're saved in this life.
That's why. So that's why you can say that Shinjin is salvation itself, because the deal is done before you get to the Pure Land. Unlike in traditional Pure Land. The idea was to, you had to wait till you actually got there before you're at the stage of non-retrogression. Whereas where Shinran teaches it, and what he realized was that actually, no, you can have that now. You can have that reassurance now. That's what gives you that peace that you go, it's okay. I'm going to be fine. I'm because I trust, I'm relying on the primal vow, not on anything I can do. Which, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's such a totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. It's totally different than anything else, but it's very different than any sage path, any mixed practice Buddhism, any provisional teachings. It's so totally different.
Yes.
But in a sense, I think the teaching is that this is the ultimate Buddhism. This is ultimately why Shakyamuni appeared in the world. Shakyamuni being a manifestation of Amida Buddha, appeared in the world, was to give this.
Yeah. And it's mind-blowing as well. I mean, I'm sitting here talking like I'm sitting here talking like I'm just talking about a cup of tea with 3 sugars in it or something, but it's actually totally mind-blowing. I mean, you think about it. All you got to do is you trust yourself to Amida's primal vow, and you will be born in the Pure Land a Buddha. I mean,
and to attain in this life, when I say attain, I mean in the sense that Amida Buddha gives you his mind. Amida Buddha gives you Shinjin arises within you because of Amida, through Amida's vow power. You, at that moment, you attain the state of non-retrogression.
Yeah.
You are at the state of non-retrogression in this life as you are.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have to live out the rest of the life. You have to, because Amida, this is also an aspect of Shinjin, that Amida cuts off your karmic seeds, your karmic roots, by transferring his merit to us, his virtue to us. So it's all coming from Amida. It's all comes from Amida. It's not our virtue. It's not our merit. It's all coming from Amida's side. And cuts off the seeds, roots, but the plant still needs to die. So we still have to live out the rest of this life, our past karma, our present karma, until this life is over.
It's like a steadily running down battery.
Yeah.
It's powered by karma, or good and bad, and eventually, like any good joy stuff, battery will eventually run out.
And then at that point, we go to Pure Land, and immediately become we're born in Pure Land, but immediately as a Buddha.
Yeah.
And then we come back as a bodhisattva to help other beings to come to Pure Land. But the idea of non-retrogression as being part of Shinjin, part of what happens with Shinjin, that's your equal. That stage is equal. It actually says it in we were reading earlier in our Dharma study, or Dharma, about it's equivalent to
Maitreya.
Maitreya, the stage of non-retrogression achieved by Maitreya. Like,
and he doesn't get to the next stage for another 5.6 billion years. I mean,
Sorry, say that again. I might have my explosion of my mind might have just interrupted what you were just saying. Can you say that again?
With Maitreya, he doesn't actually appear as the next Buddha for another 5.6. I think it's either 5.6 billion or 6.5 billion. I can never remember which way around that goes. But for an extremely long time, for billions of years, he until he actually becomes, until he attains Buddhahood and appears here on Earth. But he's gone through the path of sages route. He's taken and we're considered to be at the same stage of non-retrogression as he is, just because of what Amida's done. Just by relying on Amida and the primal vow, we're considered at exactly the same stage of non-retrogression, where the next step is Buddhahood. And it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, And you
Yeah.
think, well,
Mind blowing. It is actually mind blowing. I remember I did a whole in my previous incarnation on my channel, the Shaku Gankai. I remember doing a whole one of my deep reflection videos on just that subject.
yeah,
Equivalent to bodhisattvas that in their next life, in their next, they've attained, not in their next life, they've attained the stage of non-retrogression.
yeah.
So they won't go back. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing here, but yeah.
But what's always got me about that though is that that they've done all this hard work,
Yeah.
and we've done literally nothing, except make matters worse for ourselves. That's the only contribution as far as I can see.
Yeah. They've been working for like countless, kalpas of time to attain that stage of non-retrogression. We've been just floundering, aimless, ignorant, and blind passionately, in samsaric existences for countless kalpas.
And but Amida, as the Bodhisattva, he did all that hard work. He spent the countless kalpas and whatnot, coming up with, performing all the practices, the virtues and the merits and whatnot to establish the Pure Land, the 48 vows, which includes the 18th vow, just for our sake. It's just, he's done all that hard work for us, and all we've got to do is sort of like, and it's just it's absolutely, I don't think, I'm pretty sure there is no other, I can't, I mean, I know a fair amount about a few religions and spiritual paths, but I haven't seen anything quite like this.
No.
I mean, absolutely nothing.
Hands down. No. Hands down. Full stop. Nothing else.
I mean, you want a religion that is truly about non-discrimination, true compassion, true love, and true acceptance. It's right here in Jodo Shinjin.
True wisdom.
Yeah.
The ultimate true wisdom, the ultimate true compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. Which is to say Buddhism.
Well, absolutely, because that's the Mahayana idea,
it's the ultimate
vehicle.
It's the ultimate. But the the key thing there being, whereas the bodhisattvas on the self-power path, attaining non-retrogression, they've done that on the sage path, their own power, their own merits, their own virtues. We get there on Amida's virtues.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't even get there. It's Amida gets us there.
Mm-hmm.
We are made to, as it says in the notes, we are made to, the notes on the essential teachings.
And here's the thing: once you 100% accept that and rely upon it, that's Shinjin.
Yeah.
According to Shinran, that and Menyo for that matter, that is Shinjin. Once you have 100% accepted that and you rely upon it, you've taken refuge in that, then that is Shinjin.
It is. Shall we go to some other slightly mind-blowing aspects of Shinjin? I'm going to just go to reference another part of Reverend Professor's Matsumoto's Shinjin presentation. I think I'm a fan. I think I'm officially, he is good. I think I'm officially a fanboy of. I'm a fan of Dr. Matsumoto. But anyway, so he went through in that presentation. He goes through all things that how the 7 Pure Land masters, how the Pure Land masters before Shinran talked about Shinjin, or things related to Shinjin, and then he gets to a point where he talks about what's in the 3, the main text, the main Pure Land text, the main Pure Land sutras, and what's in there that's related to Shinjin. And I just want to read that from that slide that he gives, or reference that slide, and also the next slide after that, because it kind of brings it to where Shinran, how Shinran kind of examines this and then sort of resolves it into one, but in a way. But so he talks. So in the larger sutra, it talks about the threefold mind of the 18th vow, and that's what we're talking about, the vow to save all beings. Actually, shall we read the 18th vow?
Yes. Okay.
While we keep referring to the vow. Actually, we should probably read the 17th and 18th vow.
Okay. Yeah, I've got it.
Because
Should I read them both together?
The two are tied together, but the 18th vow is where it's, yeah. But go ahead. Yeah, are you going to read it?
Yeah, I've got it
Read
right.
The 17th and the 18th vow, please.
17th and 18th. Okay. If when I attain Buddhahood, the countless Buddhas throughout the worlds in the 10 courses should not all glorify and praise my name, may I not attain the perfect enlightenment. And the 18th vow, if when I attain Buddhahood, the sentient beings of the 10 courses who, with sincere and entrusting heart, aspire to be born in my land and say my name even 10 times, should not be born there, may I not attain the perfect enlightenment. Excluded are those who commit the 5 grave offenses and those who slander the right Dharma.
Yeah, that's the 18th vow. The second, yeah, that's the 17th and 18th vow, and that's what we're talking about. That you rely on absolutely.
But I've also got Shinran's version of the 17th and 18th at the bottom of the page here.
Yes, please.
Right, compared to Shinran's reading, which this is the 17th vow. If when I attain Buddhahood, the countless Buddhas throughout the world in the 10 quarters do not all praise and say my name, may I not attain the supreme enlightenment. This is from the collected works of Shinran. And the 18th vow, if when I attain Buddhahood, the sentient beings of the 10 quarters, with sincere mind entrusting themselves, aspiring to be born in my land, and saying my name perhaps even 10 times, should not be born there, may I not attain the supreme enlightenment. Excluded are those who commit the 5 grave offenses and those who slander the right Dharma. So, it's...
So if we're absolutely relying on that and doing what it says in the 18th vow through Amita's power, not through our own, at all, and relying absolutely on that, that's basically Shinjin.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Total reliance.
I've got this quote from the Tanner Show, which shall I?
Do it. Yeah.
Which is very, very helpful. Well, there's lots of. Okay, let's see. I'll just find the Tanner Show a minute. It appears to have. Here we are. Right. Now, it's from the first chapter or the first section of the Tanner Show, and the first bit. This has really helped me. Is that the first bit is in quotations. So it's quote, saved by the inconceivable working of Amida's vow, I shall realize birth in the Pure Land, end quote. So that part's in quotations, and it's like it's quoting that one thought moment, if you see what I mean. So if you think of it this way, saved by the inconceivable working of Amida's vow, I shall realize birth in the Pure Land. So you've had that realization. You realize, oh, right, I'm saved by the inconceivable working of Amida's vow, therefore I should be born in the Pure Land. Because you realize you're saved by the working of the vow, not by yourself. Then he goes on to say, the moment you entrust yourself thus to the vow, so that the mind set upon saying them and butsu arises within you, you are immediately brought to share in the benefit of being grasped by Amida, never to be abandoned.
Boom.
Yeah. That just sets out that one thought moment when you realize, it's Amida that saves me, not anything I do. It's, and that is, according to Shinran and Renyo's own definition, that is, the settled mind, or the Shinjin itself.
It all comes from Mita. I'm saved by Mita. It's nothing of my doing. I'm relying absolutely on, and I'm saved by Amida only. And then there's that, realizing there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing to do. Also, like there's nothing else. There's nothing for me to do other than this, other than relying on Amida.
And that Namo Amida Butsu is the expression of that. It's, you know, that
Yeah,
one problem that hits you and you go, oh, Namo Amida Butsu, you know, it's
attitude. It's
yeah,
just it kind of bursts.
yeah, yeah. It really does as well. Several times. Definitely more than 10. You know.
Well, that's a other topic of
Oh, yes.
once repeating, many repeating, and once and 10 up to once or even 10 times, and
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't matter once
Mhm.
or 10 times. Once you have Shinjin, that one thought moment, you're going to say Nambutsu.
Yes, many, 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 many times over because you can't help.
Somewhere you just are going to say it.
I mean, when you have a cough or a cold, or in my case, hay fever, you can't help but cough or sneeze. And it's exactly the same thing when you realize, you know, you go, oh, that moment, like a, like a sneeze.
There's the one, isn't there the one, I don't know if it was one of the teach, there was there's something in the writings. I don't know if it's Renyo or Shinran that makes reference to someone that says, you know, I caught the cold of the Nembutsu, and now I can't stop
That
saying.
might be in the same venue. I'm not sure it's in, I don't think it's in, but I seem to remember seeing something like that. I know what you mean. I've read that too.
I don't know if it's in Shinran.
Where?
I thought one of them had made reference to it. It's not one of them referencing it, or is it? Where did that come from?
I'm not sure. I know I read that too somewhere. I'm not. It sounds like it's not from the letters. I don't think. I think it's from sayings of venue.
It's okay.
I think
Where that's from, I can't remember. It's referencing somebody that said that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Caught the cold of the Nembutsu, and I can't. You know, I've caught the cold of the primal vow or something like that, and I can't stop coughing the Nembutsu.
Butsu. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but it is so it's automatic.
Mm.
You want to say the Nembutsu once.
Yes, yes.
Once you had that moment of that's what it's teaching, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
what. So the Nembutsu, when it says the Nembutsu is, you know, the practice or Nembutsu, it's the Nembutsu of faith, which again is our practice. None of this is our practice.
It's the Nembutsu of gratitude. You know, it's
gratitude of Matsumoto of faith. It's you just naturally say it. You naturally want to say it when you have Shinjin.
Or whenever, I mean, I find that whenever something comes to mind and it's about, you know, all of this sort of thing, I just want to have an outburst of, you know, Namo Amida Butsu, just out of, you know, that one particular, do you know what I mean? It's something else out of the Buddha done, which has really sort of like got me on going, oh, Namo Amida Butsu, you know, it's.
You read something, you really see the about the page. Namo Amida Butsu, you just want to say it, or just in your deep reflections when I'm you know, reflecting on something, I just realize, wow, Namo Amida Butsu. Just, you know, it's not even thought necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's just, you know, I don't want to say it.
But, well, then you know what, you know exactly what. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. It's like
now,
a type theme, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, you know, this could lead into a whole nother discussion, you know, of Nembutsu and listening and things before, well, just before and after Shinjin, you know. There's a whole that could be a whole nother discussion, so I don't think I'll even bring that up yet. But I thought I'd share. There's another thing I wanted to share that I was starting to share before we got into this part of it, and I asked you to read the vows because I think that's important. It was important to read the vows before I do this. Refer to this slide that Dr. Matsumoto, you know, referred to in his or created for his presentation. So, it's talking about the references in the main Pure Land texts and sutras. that refer to either Shinjin or things related, really related to Shinjin, not necessarily that later that Shinran refers to and brings together in Shinjin. So in the larger sutra, in the 18th vow of the larger sutra, there's the threefold mind. There's the threefold mind of the 18th vow of the larger sutra. So there's Shishin, which is sincere mind, Shingyo, which is joyful and trusting, Yokusho, which is desire for birth, and then there's the threefold mind of the Contemplation Sutra, which is Shijoshin, sincere mind, Jinshin, deep mind, and then a Japanese word I'm not even going to try to say, but the translation of this third mind of the Contemplation Sutra is mind of transferring merit and aspiring for birth.
Right.
And then in the Amida Sutra, or the smaller sutra, there's the holding fast to the name, or Shuji Myogo. And then in the Discourse on the Pure Land, there's single-heartedness, or Ishin. And Dr. Matsumoto says that all of these things were often considered to be attitudes required of the practitioner of the Nembutsu, which would make the Nembutsu practice efficacious. Okay, and that's kind of self-power, mixed practice or self-power stuff. So in response to that, and this is again, I'm quoting Dr. Reverend Matsumoto's slide. In response, Shinran re-examines all the mental states mentioned in the foundational Pure Land scriptures in his major texts. He concludes that all represent the true and real mind of the Buddha, which is directed to beings from the Buddha's pure vow mind and inseparable from true practice, which is also given to them. It's all coming to me. And then he says, I think this is a quote from Shinran, all are none other than the mind that is single, Ishin, the true mind of the Buddha, which is untainted by the hindrance of doubt. It is Shinjin that is true and real.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Lift off. We have lift off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Shinran brings all those minds together.
Yeah.
Through his writings and his teaching, his transmission of the teaching. So I just wanted to read that. That was another sort of explanation or aspect.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Way that Shinran approaches. And again, the emphasis here is it's all coming from Amida, the practice, the Nembutsu, the vow power, the merit, the virtue, the ability to deeply listen, the impulse or urge or desire to deeply listen, do you know what I mean? Being able to work with a good teacher of the Dharma, all of that is coming from Amida. So it's all coming from Amida. It's all set up by Amida, working through our karma causes, but it's all Amida.
Right. So I've got this passage which basically says exactly what you're saying. It's from the Shinran's chapter on Shinjin. It's I don't actually have a page number here because I'm doing this online. But it's just before he goes into the sutra passages, and it basically sort of like it says what we've just been saying more or less. This is for the foolish and ignorant who are ever sinking in birth and death, the multitudes turning in transmigration, It is not attainment of the unexcelled, incomparable fruit of enlightenment that is difficult. The genuine difficulty is realizing true and real Shinjin. Why? Because this realization takes place with the Tathaga's supportive power, because it comes about wholly through the power of great compassion and all-embracing wisdom. You see, it's it's something which is it's done. It just goes from what you're saying, pretty much. I think it's reason why it's, and this is just the most difficult of all difficulties, because it takes us a while to get to that point where we're just going to hang on to that support. It comes from Amida. You see, we realize, right, okay, all this sort of like scabbering around and whatnot. Did you see why I sort of like was quoting that? Because it shows, there's several other passages like that, but the whole thing, it just comes from Amida.
Yeah.
This is why this is the cause of a lot of the difficulty, because the human ego isn't quite ready to step aside that easily. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't want to, it wants to carry on sort of like, I'll come up with this method or that method, or maybe this will work. It's,
how can I get Shinjin?
Yeah.
What can I do? What can I, how can I, or what's my part? What's Amida's part?
Yeah.
We don't have a part.
It's all a bit like what we were saying.
We don't have a part. We just show up. We do the things that Amida is doing his practice through us. Is that a good way to say it? Amida's practice is being done through us. Sort of.
And all we're doing really is listening to the what was that quote? It says that the Buddha's teaching begins with hearing. I think Kyokan said this on one of the videos. The Buddha's teaching it starts with hearing. It's hearing in the middle. It starts and ends
with hearing. Yeah, the Buddhist teaching starts and ends with hearing. Yeah, because each sutra, it starts with thus I have heard. Yeah, etc. Yeah,
and that's what we that's which is not really a method. I mean, I'm not really. It's not really a method, really, when you think about it, because I mean, we're listening to each other right now. I wouldn't put that down to like, okay, step one, shut up and listen, and step two, do you know what I mean? It's just like a natural sort of like.
Yeah, but we are given through the teaching, through Amida, we are given.
Excuse me.
Things that we're meant to do. But all that comes from Amida, and the ability to even do it comes from Amida. It's all, the working with a good teacher.
Yeah.
Even the causes, even the good causes from the past.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Allowed us to encounter the Buddha Dharma and ultimately the Jodo Shinshu, the true teaching.
Yeah.
And Amida, even those good causes from the past, Amida is involved with that.
Yeah.
Arranging that, and through our own karmic causes and conditions, and countless lifetimes is, that's all. I know there's more to that good causes than that, but Amida is involved in that. Ultimately it's down to Amida, and then isn't that right? Isn't that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And then coming to work with a good teacher, us, when causes and conditions come together, we find a good teacher. It says in the in the teaching somewhere, but that's arranged by Amida. That Amida is involved in that happening, and us being able to work with that teacher. And then, or whatever teachers we're working with, and then to enable us to deeply listen and to deeply reflect. It's Amida illumining our mind. It's light. Amida's light illumines our mind, so we can reflect on our situation and even see what it means to be a Bambo, and see what it means to live in that samsaric existence for countless incalculable lifetimes, and see, to listen to the Dharma, to even have the urge to do any of that,
Yes.
is from Amida. And then, so we're given these things that we're doing, but ultimately, in the end, where it's all reliance on Amida.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the practice is coming from Amida, all the power is coming from Amida, all the virtue, all the merit. It's anything we do does not add to that, does not add to the work.
No,
it's just
these are just really, it's
for us to become open.
Yeah.
To the working, to open the shutters so the light comes in, to put the laundry on the line.
Yeah.
So the sun dries the laundry, and it's the light that comes in and brightens up the room. It's the light that it's the heat and light of the sun that dries the laundry. But even us being able to open the shutters,
yes, yeah,
know to open the shutters and to put the laundry on the line, that's because of Amida illuminating us and giving us. And so it's all, in the end, it's all coming from Amida.
Yeah, yeah.
We have these things to do, but those things don't save us, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes, because
we have these things to do, but they're not our practice.
No, right. It's Amida positioning us to, essentially speaking, Amida's the one that's sort of getting us in that right spot, getting us in the right sort of like environment, if you like, to, yeah. Where's that?
Like tuning us in. I heard that.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, that's probably the best way of, yeah.
With me. I think it was Paul Roberts I heard use that first time. I think it was. But it might have been another, the more I think about it, because I did ask him, I referenced that to him once, and he said, "Oh, I said that?" He's like, "Wow, I don't even remember that." But it might have been another Buddhist teacher I was listening to, like a non Buddhist teacher that I was listening to, but I tied that, that you're being tuned in. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like Amida. It might have been something like that. That Amida through all this stuff tunes us in, is tuning us in, to his channel. It's been broadcasting for 10 kalpas, for innumerable time. It's been broadcasting, and he tunes us in, sort of. So it's him tuning us in through these things that we're doing. We're not tuning the dial. It's not even us tuning the dial. We're just kind of the radio being tuned in to his channel somehow. Yeah. And that's what his tuning causes us to do these things.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
What else? I went looking for this bit of a funny story, really, but I went looking for this particular quote in the lessons of radio, and I spent hours, going through the index, see if I could find it, going through each lesson, see if I could find it, and then discovered it was actually in the sayings of radio, not in the letters. But it goes. So I've been trying to find it since. But it says, regardless of our doubts, if we listen with our whole heart or our whole being, and out of great compassion, Amida. I can't remember exactly how that quote goes, but it's you know what I'm talking about? I know Kyoka makes a few references to it, I think, on there.
Yeah, and doesn't Kobai Sensei, I think.
Yeah. It's in the book, Understanding Jodo Shinshu. I can't remember the exact wording, but it's because
there's true. So it has to do with hearing.
Yeah.
So hearing without doubt. Hearing without doubt is Shinjin.
Yeah.
So when you hear without doubt, when you hear the Dharma without doubt, is Shinjin.
Yes. Yes.
And so is that what you're kind of referring to, or?
Sort of. It was sort of like one of the very here we are. Oh no, that's not it. All right. It's fine to find this quote from the same menu. But it went along the lines of regards for our doubts, out of great compassion, because of great compassion, Amida will give us Shinjin.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, regardless, we should
If we listen with our whole, if we listen to our whole being,
if we listen with our whole heart or whole being,
yeah. And because of great compassion,
because of great compassion, eventually we will receive faith.
Yeah, Amida will give us Shinjin.
Something like that. It's Renyo, isn't it?
It's Renyo. It's insane to Renyo. Not I went looking for it in the letters to Renyo. I couldn't find it, and then I discovered that it was actually in the same.
Yeah, that's what I. Yeah. It's a great quote, actually.
Yes, it's very good. I haven't been able to. I know it's.
Let me just see if I can find it. One sec. Oh,
I know.
No. Listen.
Here we are. It actually includes right.
Okay.
I haven't found where it is exactly, but I found the quote.
Found the quote. Say the quote. Yeah.
Regardless of our doubts, if we listen intently with our entire being, we will be given Shinjin because of great compassion. And then it says the Buddha's teaching begins and ends with hearing.
Yes.
It was all part of the same quote. Okay.
He's just said what it took me about 20 minutes talking about all the things that we do, and he's summed up in one sentence. That's basically the purpose of the things we do.
Yeah.
The attitude that we're meant to listen with. And that's how and why we listen.
That's where the expression listening deeply comes from. Listening with our whole being.
Say it one time. I think that's a good thing to take us out.
Okay, we'll say it again, you. Oh, did you want me to say that quote again?
The quote again, yeah.
Okay. It says, regardless of our doubts, if we listen intently with our entire being, we will be given Shinjin because of great compassion. The Buddhist teaching begins and ends with hearing. Listening.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Yeah, that I think that's a good way to end it with that quote.
Yeah. Because with all this, Shinjin is a huge subject.
Yeah.
Shinjin is a huge subject, but I think you've got to know where you go. It gives direction from
and it is everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted to try to tackle it, a small kernel grain of it.
Yeah.
In a Shaku Brothers episode, because it is central. It is the teaching of Jodo Shinshu.
It's fundamental. It's the only thing that really,
it is everything. It's when you're thinking of the end, suffering and the end of suffering, Shakyamuni's teaching is about the suffering and the end of suffering. That's Shinjin is the end of suffering for us. When we ultimately at the end of suffering is when we're born as a Buddha in Pure Land, but Shinjin is salvation.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Shinjin is basically Amida grasping you never to abandon you.
Yeah.
That's basically Shinjin. He's grasped you and he'll never abandon you.
And utter, sincere reliance, true trust, entire and trusting, entire reliant, joyful, entrusting mind.
Mm-hmm.
Without any doubt.
Yeah.
In the
yeah. And out of great compassion, Amida gives that to us. It's interesting the way he words that, actually. If we listen intently with our whole being, I don't know whether there's anything actually if we listen intently with our entire being. The reason why we're given Shinjin is because of his great compassion.
Sorry, please say that again. I think we were.
Oh, I'm sorry. I probably got carried away.
Say it again.
So regardless of our doubts, if we listen intently with our entire being, we will be given Shinjin because of great compassion. It's, it's almost worded in a way. This isn't a reward for listening with your whole being. You're given Shinjin because of his great compassion.
Because of great compassion, not because you're listening intently with your whole being.
It's not a reward for listening deeply. It's
no. It's because of great compassion you will eventually receive Shinjin, not because you're listening intently with your whole heart. But you're meant to. But that is the instruction.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're listening and say that again. Listen intently with one's whole being. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
That settled the question for me. I had a lot of discussions with Kyokan about what deep listening was, what the attitude with which you were meant to approach that. Mm-hmm. And that, when I found that quote and we discussed it, that settled what of the attitude. But the nuance you just brought out there is that because of great compassion.
Yes.
Not because of you're listening intently with your whole heart or with your whole being. It's because of great compassion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's really important to see it that way, because sometimes when we hear listening deeply referred to as a practice,
intently with your whole being, is that
and there you are, you're sort of like listening with all your heart, and you still haven't got Shinjin, and you think, wait a minute, where's my reward? I've been doing this for years and I still haven't earned Shinjin.
Not a reward.
Yeah. So it's not a reward. It's great because the media, it's great. It's from a media. He's not rewarding you. He's, you can't earn a gift.
In the implication, it's already been given. It's already being given.
Yeah.
A matter of when you are able to receive it, or are enabled to receive it, or open to receive it, or that's a whole nother discussion. Sorry, that's a whole other. Just opened another can of worms there. I didn't mean to. I'm trying to wrap this up with that, and I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Because of great compassion.
Yeah, we're giving it. Yeah, always because of great compassion. Yeah,
we will receive Shinjin, not because of listening intently. Although we are meant to listen intently with our whole being.
Well, it's a gift, and I suppose listening intently is opening the door and receiving the gift. So it's like a, I don't know what you put it, like the chosen process to do it. But I think sometimes you get this impression that somehow that listening deeply is a it's something you're trying to earn Shinjin, and that's just not the idea at all.
Not at all. Not at all. So, but listen. Whoo.
Yes.
I think we covered a small, microscopic, subatomic particle of a grain of sand in the Ganges today. Somewhat, partially, in some way. So thank you so much. I know it was a huge topic, and I remember when I suggested it, I really was going, are we really going to do this? Are we going to really attempt this? But it did seem to flow from the last, the previous episode. So it's just like, it just did seem to present itself. So,
I mean, Shinjin is an incredibly deep subject, but
I
don't think it should be thought of as so complex as unapproachable. And I think the way we've,
agree. Yeah, you shouldn't think of it as unapproachable.
Yeah.
It is simple, it is simple faith. All this stuff is what, when it's referred to simple faith, it is simple faith. It's just very nuanced and complex, but you don't even have to get that.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You getting it, you getting what Shinjin is, like understanding what Shinjin is not the point.
No.
Really. The point is being given it by Amida. You know what I mean? Shinjin arising within you through Amida's power. That's the, That's the point. And it can be summed up with things like, reliant. It's utter, total, sincere, joyful reliance.
Yeah.
On the vow.
Yeah. Yeah.
On Amida, totally without any doubt, and faith without any doubt. So it is, it is still simple faith. It's just there's a lot to it.
A lot of layers, but it's still an approach. It's very approachable. I mean, it'd be silly if it wasn't really, because otherwise, what would be the point? if it was about this nebulous subject which nobody really knows anything
exactly.
about, it would totally be self-defeating, wouldn't it? So I mean, it's a
it is the central teaching of Jodo Shinshu.
Yeah.
Better be approachable, and it is.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that we conveyed some of that.
Oh, I hope so too.
Quotes that we did and the things that it, we did want to unpack some of the other aspects and nuances, but it does come down to something very practical and direct for you. The teaching is for you. The salvation is for you directly.
That's right.
Directly, specifically for each of us. So it is accessible.
Oh yes, yeah.
And Amida makes it accessible. Makes it accessible to us, each in our own, with our own each our karmic limitations and unique situations. It is. Amida makes it accessible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you again.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
I enjoyed this episode. It has been challenging, though. I have to admit, and I want to say full stop, full disclosure. I do not consider myself a person of settled Shinjin. I'm still on the path. I have far more faith arising within me than I ever have.
Yeah.
And it's been a process with me. And you can see that in my discussions with Hyokan, half of which I haven't even posted yet, but it's a process, this whole thing is a process for me, that's unfolding through Amida's light, through Amida's power, and I have more faith than I ever had, more entrusting than I ever have, more joy in the entrusting, more joy in the Dharma, in listening to the Dharma than I ever have.
Yeah.
But I would not consider myself a person of settled Shinjin. So I want to make that full stop. So that's another aspect of this that is challenging for me. So that's why a lot of times I was deferring and saying to you, is that right? Is that what the teachings say? Because I'm not coming at it from someone who's experienced diamond-like Shinjin, fully, totally settled Shinjin without doubt.
Yeah.
Just want a full disclosure that. So that was another kind of challenging aspect of this discussion for me.
Well, that's the useful thing about your discussion with Kyokan, because I think it's absolutely brilliant, because it's sort of like, this is, I don't know how to put this really, but that's that process that you're putting out there in those episodes and whatnot. It's going to be, it will be so helpful to probably the most helpful set of videos I have seen in a long time. So I mean,
Good. Thank you. That's good. I hope that. I really hope that. That's why, it's vital to my deep listening process. It's part of my, but that's what I posting them in hopes that someone can see, someone might see that this is how you do a Dharma dialogue. This is this the Dharma dialogue aspect of deep listening, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy those sessions. I get so much out of them. I learn so much.
Yeah.
So grateful. But anyway, so again, thank you so much for doing this with me, for appearing on the Shaku Brothers.
Yes, Shaku Brothers.
And may they be many more.
Yeah.
Take care.
Right, you too.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
All the best.